Hi everyone, my name's Josh, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to talk about which machine's right for you, HVLP or airless. So we've made videos explaining how to pick the right airless system for you and how to pick the right HVLP system for you, but we haven't actually made one that says why you'd go for an HVLP system over an airless system or vice versa. Customers often say to us, I'm looking at getting my first sprayer and I'm not sure whether to go for HVLP or airless. So I thought I'd best explain the pros and cons of each so you can make a decision on which one's best for you. People often say they're planning on doing a mix of work, so a bit of interior emulsion work on walls and ceilings, and a bit of fine finish work as well, so that could be doors, cabinets, general trim or anything else you'd find around the house. So which type of sprayer is best for you? If I had a mix of different jobs to do around the house and I could only pick one machine, personally I'd be going for an airless unit. This is for a few reasons. Firstly, and most importantly for me, the airless is better at spraying fine finish compared to the HVLP spraying walls and ceilings. This is because the airless units can use a huge variety of spray tips, and with the FFLP range you really can get a lot of control and dial in your desired fan pattern and application speed for every fine finish job. On the other side, the HVLP spraying walls and ceilings will give you great control and low overspray, but being blunt, the speed of application will be painfully slow. The next big plus for me with airless is the volume of paint you can use. So with the majority of HVLPs, like with this Edge 2 Plus gun, you get a 1 litre cup. So this is plenty for most fine finish jobs, but when you start to get onto some bigger jobs, you may find you're filling up this cup quite a lot. And with most airless systems, you have a suction tube which you put straight into your paint, so you can use much larger amounts of paint without worrying about filling up again. This, however, can also be the big downside of airless. So say for example you've got a job where you're going to require about 1 litre of product. So if you go to use your airless, you're going to need to buy about 2 litres, so you've got enough to prime the machine, fill the hoses and get 1 litre onto the job itself. The amount you're going to need to prime the machine will change depending on which machine you have, and rule of thumb is bigger the machine, the more you're going to need. In this scenario, HVLP beats airless hands down, because all you've got to do is fill up your cup and then you'll be able to spray the majority of that product directly onto your job rather than being used to fill up the machine. To be fair to airless, when flushing out at the end, you do get that product back, but it doesn't stop you having to buy it in the first place. Another big plus for airless is the speed of application. So with HVLP, you'd be spraying at anything up to 10 psi, whereas with airless, you'll normally find yourself spraying somewhere between 1000 and 2500 psi, depending on the product and the application. Because of the high pressure, this enables you to spray large areas incredibly fast. For example, if I was able to get a coat of emulsion on all the walls in a room in around 10 minutes with my airless unit, I'd be expecting it to take somewhere between 1 and 2 hours with an HVLP, which to be honest isn't an efficient process and certainly wouldn't be my tool of choice. I'd say the biggest concern for people who are looking at getting into spraying is the overspray. And there is no way around it to some extent, but the way you set up the machine can massively influence the amount you get. With regards to the overspray, there's no doubt that HVLP produces less and you can be incredibly controlled, but as I said, with the Graco fine finish low pressure tips on the airless system, you can keep the pressure really low and also really minimise that overspray. One of the most important comparisons is the quality of the finish. Now this is a little bit tricky to compare as we've got two completely different ways of spraying. HVLP is based on a similar concept to air spray where we're using air to atomise the paint, and I would say you do get a slightly finer finish with HVLP, but with the right paint, the right spray tip and the right pressure, airless isn't very far behind at all. Next up we've got the flexibility, so what can you spray? With all airless guns you can spray upside down, side to side, however you like, as the paint is fed to the gun at high pressure, so it comes out freely at whatever direction you hold the gun. Whereas with HVLP, we need to keep the gun upright if we're using gravity or suction fed. The only exception is you can spray upside down if your HVLP uses a cup and collapsible liner system. This is where the cup pressurizes the material and forces it through the gun, like we get on the Edge 2 guns. Spraying upside down is really handy if you're spraying cabinets, so you're able to get in and get all the tight spots and corners. Now on to comfort, which is a big one for me. The airless guns are a lot lighter because you haven't got the paint hanging off the front of the gun, so that's an extra kilo you haven't got to carry around with you all day. Also, airless is much faster, so you'll be spraying for less time. The only real downside of airless is the hose is generally a little bit stiffer and the trigger pull is usually a little bit heavier. Not having the pot on the front of the gun is also a flexibility benefit for the airless gun, as you'll be able to get into tighter spots without the risk of the pot hitting whatever it is you're spraying. The last comparison I'd like to make is the cleanup time. So that's the time taken to flush out the machine and clean it out ready for the next job. This depends entirely on which machine you have, but on average I'd say I could clean out an HVLP a little bit quicker. So for example, say we've got a Graco cup liner system on our HVLP, you can clean these out really quick, but if you were to have an older suction pot gun compared to a hopper airless system, I think it would actually be pretty close. So if we compare HVLP and airless on a point system, kind of like the card game Top Trumps, we can see exactly how they compare. I would say, however, this is based entirely on my experience and opinion, and other people may see it slightly differently. And I'm also not basing it on any particular models or equipment. It's kind of just based on the concept of HVLP or airless. Okay, so first up we have the speed of application, and for me that's a clear winner for airless. So I'm going to give airless a 10 out of 10, and HVLP I'm going to give 5 out of 10. Next up we have the total mess created by the piece of equipment. So airless tends to be a little bit messier, so I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10, and HVLP scores a little bit better at 8. On to the quality of the finish. HVLP will tend to give you a finer finish if used correctly, so for that reason I'm going to give airless an 8 and HVLP is just ahead with a 9. Next we have the amount of paint needed for the job, and that's another win for HVLP as it's very efficient, so that's a 6 for airless and a 10 for HVLP. Now we have our refill time, and as you can put a suction tube with our airless system in whatever size container you like, I have to give airless a 10, and sometimes refilling the cup on the HVLP can be a little bit slow, so that scores a 6. Next up is comfort, which is another win for airless as the gun weighs significantly less, so I'm scoring airless with an 8 and HVLP with a 5. Lastly, flexibility, which both score well on, but airless takes the win again with a 10 and HVLP with an 8. This is based on the variety of products you can spray and the spaces you can get into. So overall, airless scores 58 out of 70 and HVLP scores 51, so not a lot in it. This doesn't mean always pick airless for every job. It means take a look at the list of categories and see what's important to you. For example, say I've got a job that's coming up and the most important things to me are speed, quality of finish and comfort, so airless would be the obvious choice. But let's say I had another job where lack of mess, quality of finish and the amount of paint I use is important, I'd then suggest going for HVLP. So to summarise, there's no magic answer to this, and it's a balance on which aspects of spraying you're prepared to compromise on and what is an absolute must. As usual, if you aren't sure on which unit to go for, give us a call on the number below and we can talk you through some of the options and point you in the right direction. Well, I hope this video has been useful, and I'll put a link in the description below to the HVLP and airless machines, so if you wanted to find out a bit more you can check them out there. If you've liked the video and found it helpful, then please hit the thumbs up icon, and if you wanted to find out more and get access to exclusive offers, then please subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell so you get a notification when we upload a new video. That way you aren't going to miss out on any new offers or content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.